and my mission is to help you calm the toxic voice in your head so you can grow your impact. Now, this is part 2 of 4 videos on how to develop self-belief. A reader asked me, how do I develop self-belief? And I've decided to devote 4 videos to this because it's such an important area in all in all parts, whether you're working in a company, whether you're an employee or you're running your own business. It's so important to develop that self-belief because it directly impacts how much effort you put into whatever it is you're doing. The amount of effort you put in determines the action you take and then of course the results that you get. If you lack self-belief, it's a vicious cycle of negativity. You put less effort, you take less action, and the results are piddly. But if you start developing self-belief, it's a virtuous cycle. You put more effort in, you take bolder action, you do things you might not do. It takes the same amount of effort, but it's just taking a different action, right? And then that could help you achieve different results. It's the difference between reaching out to that company or that person or asking for more or not, okay? And so on, right? So part 2, developing self-belief. And the second way of developing self-belief is what I call perfect practice. It's about developing perfect practice. Now, what's the difference between, what's practice and what's perfect practice? Practice is when let me take the example of playing, let's say you're learning how to play golf. All right, let's take that as an example because it's a physical activity, right? You're learning to play golf and you're swinging the golf stick and you just swing and you just keep going. You practice for an hour you're at the driving range, let's imagine, and you swing the ball and you swing the ball and you've practiced for 1 hour. If you've practiced for 1 hour, but you've been holding the golf club wrong and you didn't even know that, or if you've been, twisting yourself and you didn't know you're supposed to, I'm not an expert in golf, but I imagine there are specific techniques you should be adopting, right? If you're twisting yourself or if you're doing some certain twist but you don't know you're not supposed to do that, then what's the point? Because all you're doing is you're reinforcing these bad habits. So not all practice is good habit. It is good practice, okay? Equally, if you're in your business, for example, if you are trying to get better at selling, and you're in meetings and you go and you attend many, many meetings and you attend many, many pitch meetings with clients, and you have these meetings and you're doing it all wrong, like you're just doing all this talking and you're not finding out anything about them and so on. But if you carry on doing that and you think you just get better and better at talking about your product, but you're still not selling, still not getting anywhere, then what's the point? That's imperfect practice. But perfect practice is very different. It's about fine-tuning in one area and just doing that properly, just doing that perfectly. Going back to the golf swing idea, just getting the backswing right. Just getting the backswing, just focusing on, okay, let me just try and do this backswing properly without twisting. Let's say you developed a bad habit and you keep twisting, or you keep twisting your arms, or you don't, you move your head all over the place. So, okay, I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to do this. So that would be a definition of perfect practice. You're just you're chunking it down to one area and you're doing that as brilliantly as you possibly can. That would be perfect practice, right? And then the next stage might be, okay, let me just plant the ball. That's it. I'm just going to hit the ball. I'm not going to do any, I'm not going to care where it goes. I'm just going to make perfect contact with the ball. And equally when it goes back to your sales meetings, maybe a perfect practice example would be, I'm going to focus on how best to open a meeting. That's it. How best to open a meeting on the best foot. How to open a meeting so that the client talks. How to open the meeting so it builds rapport and so on, right? So that would be an example of perfect practice. Let me just practice this one perfect area. And this practice you can do with friends, or you can study it yourself and you can write it down yourself and you can think about it yourself and so on. I'm just going to focus on this one area. That would be an example of perfect practice. Equally when meditating, let's say you want to learn how to meditate. perfect practice would be, instead of spending half an hour of just sitting there and, okay, I'm doing a practice, but it's not very, it's not very productive, and your mind is going all over the place. If you just focus, perhaps just 1 minute perfectly. I'm just going to focus 1 minute and just listen to my breathing. That's all, just 1 minute. That would be. So going back to developing self-belief, whatever it is you're trying to develop self-belief in an area of your business, pick one area and chunk it down to a small area and practice perfectly on developing one part of that. So maybe it's pitching, maybe you want to become better at writing, right? Writing blogs. I know that's something you need to do or you want to become better at learning how to do LinkedIn to grow your profile and so on. You do some research and just focus on one area of what you could do. Engaging with others, for example, and make that your perfect practice. Okay, so that's the second way of developing self-belief. It's creating a space for perfect practice, so that it's precision, right? You're just developing this one area and you're getting really good at it. Okay, and that's not the whole. You're not trying to do the whole thing, just one area. Because when you get better at doing this one area, it starts building, it just helps develop these layers of self-belief, belief in your ability. And when you start developing expertise in that one area, it can become contagious, all right? So that's the second way to develop self-belief. Chunk down your practice sessions, your rehearsal sessions, of whatever it is you're trying to get better at, into small chunks and just focus on doing that small bit as perfectly as you can. You're never going to be. Don't try and reach for perfection, just focus on practicing perfectly, okay? So that's part 2 on how to develop self-belief. Found this useful? Please share it with someone who might find this useful. And tell me, what are you going to perfectly practice? I want to know. Tell me in the comments below, all right? And don't forget to subscribe. You can see down below, there's a link to my website where you can subscribe and get more goodies and subscriber-only goodies, okay? I'll see you in the next episode, where you will learn another way, the third way of how to develop self-belief. This is Annie's Kisselbash, helping you awaken your potential.